Good evening, folks, and welcome to another edition of An Hour with Bob. Tonight's going to be an interesting night. It's going to be a little different. We got a guy that I met in the summer of 2014, and just come out of the hospital from having my knee replaced. And I saw this guy that I thought needed a little help in a campaign for lieutenant governor. And I liked his ideas, and I liked what he did in his town. He was the mayor of the town of Cumberland. And by the way, that's where I was born. And I heard good things about him. And I checked him out a bit, and I liked his ideas. I really liked his family. And I decided to help him. And I hope that that's why he's the lieutenant governor today. And tonight, he's with us. Dan McKee, good evening.
Hey, Bob. Good
Nice to see you.
Yes, good to see you. Not on the campaign
Don't you
trail.
miss the campaign trail?
I am very happy to be here tonight, and I'm very happy not to be on the campaign
Really?
trail at the moment.
Oh, at the moment, yeah.
Because we want to get into helping the state.
But we had
which
fun
we talked about.
hitting the
We
cities
did.
and towns and all the diners we went
All
to
the
and
diners,
stuff.
39.
39
I got a
diners.
number of the mugs right in my office.
What
down
was the
at
last
State
one
House.
we went to?
We went Block Island.
Block Island.
All right.
That was fun.
My wife Susan and I hit 3 up in northern Rhode Island. So the day of, and then we went to
I
Block
know,
Island.
that was
good.
unbelievable.
And
Yeah,
we had
that
a good
morning,
day, too.
early in the morning. That's
Early in the morning, yes.
That's right, very early in the
We were
morning.
in,
What,
we were
6
we were
o'clock in the
Manville
morning you
at
started,
Lil and Jean's at around 6 o'clock, and
right?
then we got
Smithfield, and then you
yeah,
Woonsocket.
Yeah, we were in North Smithfield at the
North
Bond,
Smithfield.
and then we went out to Burrillville, and I'm trying to remember the name of the place, but then we ended up in Bethany's, right at the down in out in
Block Island.
Yeah,
Yep.
And it was a good boat ride over there, if you remember.
Exactly.
Yeah,
we got lucky. We got
got
lucky weather-wise
Yes.
for that time of
Oh
year.
yeah, and we were lucky to make the. If I recall, we were lucky to make the
make it
comeback
back.
trip.
We almost had a
We
stay
were in the
overnight.
Block Island Times having an interview, and you I think you were talking too much. I think you were
Oh yeah,
talking.
me, huh? I think we were both
Yes.
compliment each other as far as who talked the
Yeah,
most.
this is true.
So how you doing? How long you been the lieutenant governor now?
I got sworn in on January 6th.
Right.
And it was a cold day. And,
It certainly was a very cold
So we've
day.
been there.
I was there.
Slightly more than 4 months.
Right.
And getting acclimated and got a number of good things rolling. The whole theme of our campaign, as you know, because you were out there filming it for us, was creating a better Rhode Island for us to live in. So, and we're finding ways to have the lieutenant governor play a role in that.
And I think you're succeeding in that front, because in the past the lieutenant governor's been they get elected and you don't ever hear from them again. A lot of people never knew who the lieutenant governor was after they were elected.
It's just an ideal time because my office gets to weigh in on small business advocacy, and we know that we need to turn our economy around and help with the jobs out there. So we dug right into that issue.
And in fact, before we get into issues,
Yes.
I want to mention one thing that a couple lieutenant governors in the past have helped out on, and that's in the National Guard. And,
Oh, yes.
and the air show's coming up this year, and it promises to be the biggest one ever. Not only do they have the Blue Angels, but they have a team from France, who they've never had before, and they have a Canadian jet team. They have 3 jet teams at this air show this year. It's May 30th and May 31st, Saturday and Sunday, the last weekend of May, and it proves to be an awesome air show. They even have that truck that has 3 jet engines on it. Goes,
Oh, yeah.
359 miles an hour or something like
We
that.
visited right on the grounds during the campaign, and it was great. We were down there a few weeks back because they're creating a simulator. The National Guard is creating a simulator for one of their planes. It's going to be about a $30 million investment. Senator Rhode was there along with Congressman Cicilline and Congressman Langevin, and they had a groundbreaking for that. So yeah, that's a great place down there.
Oh, I love it
It's a
down
great
there.
show, right?
Oh yeah, do you know they already have and have had for years? They have the simulator for the what the heck? Oh, I can't think of the number. It'll come to me anyway. I can't think of the number. The CJ. It's called the J. Help me out. It'll come to me. Anyway,
we're paying them a visit down there because when we were down there, I said, they asked whether I could just whether I was interested in taking a tour of some of the areas. So I think we're headed down there next week and meeting with some of the National Guard leadership there to show us around the grounds, in more depth. So that's an interesting component of the office, is that you are connected in
Yes.
into the National Guard because of the emergency management,
Right,
which we got
exactly.
thrown right into with the snowstorm. My
Right
God.
away, you get elected.
Oh,
right
my
away,
God.
you get hit. Because we didn't. When did we get our first snowstorm? I was trying to think.
Maybe
of the
this
date.
third week of January, maybe.
Yeah, it was the middle of May.
Yeah,
I mean, middle of January.
yeah,
right?
towards the middle of January. Just maybe 10 days, 12 days after, maybe around the 20th of January, something like that.
Because I had talked to a friend of mine that was out of the country at the time,
Yeah.
and he said, "How's the winter going?" Ha ha! It's 85 degrees here. I said, "Well, the winter's beautiful here. It's we haven't even had an inch of snow," and that was like the beginning of January.
Yeah, you spoke too soon.
I spoke way too soon.
Yes.
I was reminded of that just recently.
Yeah.
that,
Oh, yeah.
I spoke way too soon about that. But in fact, years ago, Fogarty, when he was the lieutenant governor,
Yeah.
we went over to visit the troops one year during Christmas time. It was, I think we left like the 21st or 22nd of December
Were
and
you with
didn't
the
come
general
back
on
to the
that one?
29th. Yeah, of course, with
Yeah.
General Centracchio. In
Yes.
fact, he was on the show, as he has been numerous times, talking about the time he had, and he said, we were talking about Christmas. It was during Christmas, this past Christmas, and he said that was his best Christmas.
Imagine that.
The time we spent
Well, he's
over
been
there.
very helpful to us too, because we've met with him. I've had lunch with him since I got sworn in, and talked to him about the emergency management issues that
Yes.
he's an expert on.
Very sharp guy.
And
Very
so
sharp
he's
guy.
been very, very helpful, Bob. Very helpful, as a lot of other people have. But that in particular, I was very fortunate to have Tony Silva, who's our chief of staff,
Right.
who was our police chief, that
Right.
is involved with emergency management. And he's a good friend, as you are, with the general.
Yes, great guy. Really
Yes.
is a great guy.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so what's happened? You got this Advanced Rhode Island. Is that the your emphasis?
Yes, so that's going to be the theme of our
Well, theme,
office,
your
kind of the brand, hopefully, of our office, which is Advanced Rhode Island.
Okay.
And initially, that we have a number of things we're going to try to advance, but one of them is business friendliness. So boosting
Well,
business
yeah, you
friendliness.
talked about that during the campaign.
During the
And
campaign.
being a businessman anyway.
Yes.
First, let's establish that.
Yes.
You are a businessman.
We've been
you
in
come
business
from the oil business.
the oil business. My dad's dad was in the ice business in Cumberland, and then they converted it towards a kerosene business, and then into the oil business and the plumbing, and now we're third generation. My dad died in 1986, so we've been operating the business since then. My brothers have been managing it, and so we're small business, and we've rode this roller coaster, and that's one of the reasons that got me very interested in coming on a state level, was that
Right.
we're just getting tired of being first in and last out of these recessions, Bob.
Right.
So
and you've been very, very vocal and very, added a different element to this whole thing with National Grid and to the whole
Yes.
natural gas thing.
That's one of the things. So this last increase, how much do you think that last increase cost us? I think I might
Well,
have
he
shared
said-
that with you.
Go ahead.
The last National Grid, the electric increase cost the ratepayers in the state around over $100 million. $100 million, more than 38
Wow.
studios. And yet, where's the headlines, right? We get the
Right,
headlines.
yes,
Where's the headlines?
yes.
So we intervened at the PUC, the Public Utility Commission, in December, 30 days before I took office. And
How they allowed? Who's supposed to be watching them? I mean, actually, I shouldn't say that. Isn't the PUC supposed to be watching them?
Yeah, we intervene and outline ways that they could do better by the ratepayers. And now we have another intervention, June 4th. And so the people
Now,
out
what is that?
there-
What do you mean? Is that a
So
hearing?
We're on the docket. So they have a hearing at the PUC,
Which is on Jefferson Boulevard.
which on Jefferson Boulevard, and we're going to talk about the very thing that we've been talking about, is driving competition
Right.
into electric rates, which ratepayers have the option to purchase their energy that fires up the plant from another party besides National Grid. In fact, National Grid says that they're the energy supplier of last resort. Yet only
They're the only ones,
Yes,
actually. Well, they have been the
right now.
only
Only
ones.
6% of the ratepayers right now actually take advantage of the competition. We need to educate.
Now, how
the
much
public out there.
competition is there? I mean,
There's a handful of companies that secure the energy that are options for the ratepayers. Probably 6, 7 right now.
Now-
Right now,
Go ahead.
8 in every 10 businesses, small business. That's how we intervene, because we get the way into the small business. 8 out of 10 small businesses do not participate in the in the competition, and it could save them a whole lot of
Well,
money.
are they afraid that if they switch over, they're going to be charged if they try to switch back at some further time? Or are they afraid that they're going to have to pay like an initiation fee for signing up with somebody?
That's exactly what's happened.
Is that what it is?
It's exactly what happened. So what's happened is that there's an adjustment charged back if you leave at the wrong time, and we're left to question, we're kind of a shell game. Well, is it the right time?
Who's to know?
Who's to know? And that's what we're not communicating. And so we have...
Yeah, but who's supposed to communicate that? Who's supposed to know, and who's supposed to tell us that?
Well, I think that
as the consumer,
it's more about structuring it in a way that where the PUC can set up a website to do that, which Pennsylvania has. Pennsylvania is almost 40% of their customer base is taking advantage of the competition and saving dollars.
Wow.
We're just a little over
6%.
8 in 10 businesses in the state of Rhode Island, like I just
right.
said, don't.
Don't.
And so what we've done is we've intervened, which means that we've hired an attorney. I've structured our budget and amended our budget so I can use a portion of the $1 million budget that we have,
right,
to intervene and hire people in that actually know what they're doing so that we can make some progress, and we are. So we've met a number of times with the Department of Public Utility Commission, which is the administrative side of the PUC, the
right.
Public Utility Commission, which is a little confusing, and they're working on creating this website that would be similar to what Connecticut has done. I mean, Connecticut is working on one, and Pennsylvania has done.
Right.
When that gets set up, you're going to be able to go on a website, and you're going to see in very clear English,
right,
whether it's a good time or not a good time.
When and where,
and how to do it,
and who to go to.
Yes, and who to go to.
Who the options are.
That's right. And then so what's holding us back right now, which holding the competition back, is what you just said, is that going in blind and don't know whether you're going to get an adjustment.
Right.
So the Attorney General, Peter Kamartin, has joined us in that intervention on this issue. We had a press conference at his office, brought in a small business person from Burrillville, Bob, that we visited. We visited
right.
their machine shop. They received an $1,800 adjustment.
Really?
$1,800.
Down.
Cost them $1,800. They made the switch to another supplier, and it cost them $1,800 in one bill because they changed at the wrong time. So we're requesting that they get rid of this adjustment.
Wow.
Massachusetts and New Hampshire their PUCs have just got rid of this adjustment. Rhode Island on June 4th is going to hear our case along with the Attorney General.
Thank God you're there.
And if we were structured in last November around Thanksgiving, when we were hearing about this 27% increase to the ratepayer, over 40% increase to the small business. Wow. Small business right now in the state of Rhode Island pays a higher electric fee than anywhere in the continental USA. The only state that has a higher energy cost in terms of electricity is Hawaii.
Hawaii, I knew you were going to say
so
that.
we're pushing hard.
That's crazy.
Now, if we get this
crazy.
adjustment in, if we were structured on what been working on for the last 4 months or since December, and we have that in place this year, if we had it in place last year, we would have saved ratepayers millions of dollars, not a couple bucks.
Right.
Ratepayers would have saved at least $20 million on the options that were available to them at the time that they couldn't take advantage of, because it was not a good thing. Don't go change yet until we get rid of the adjustment, because you might be the person paying the $1,800.
$1,800, exactly.
We'll give a green light when we get this adjustment dropped, and it would be really good for any of your listeners out there to call the Department of Public Utility Commission. Let them know that the Lieutenant Governor is intervening to drop this adjustment so he can drive this competition so that the ratepayers have the ability to save a great deal of money over the next several years on their electric bills.
So you hear that, folks? Call the PUC.
Yes.
Right?
Call the PUC, the Department of Public Utility Commission. Call them up and leave a message with them that we know that there's an intervening going on between the Attorney General and the Lieutenant Governor. That is good for the ratepayer to drive competition in to the electric rates. And we're also asking for a way that they can purchase, that the grid could acquire their energy in a different way than they have. So we've got some experts in there to lay out the argument. We'll be sitting there supporting it and providing the leadership, in this case, through our budget. We shifted We didn't spend all our budget. We've been very frugal on our
Right.
budget, but we got the an amended budget to allow us to spend this, and then next year we're going to do the same thing. So every time there's
that's
a
good.
rate increase on the board that's going to impact small business, which
You're going to find out why and how to
that's right.
deal with it, right?
We're going to intervene with the PUC.
Well, that's one way that you're in fact living up to your promise that you're going to work for the benefit of the
Yeah,
businesses.
you were on that transition committee with us,
That's
and we
right.
talked about that.
Yeah,
And,
absolutely.
so that was great, that we're able to make the inroads that we have, and with the cooperation of Tommy Ahern at the Department of Public Utility Commission right now,
Right.
he's really organized his executive staff. We have worked through with the governor's office on this, and Governor Raimondo has had a staff person with us when we've been meeting at the Department of Public Utility Commission, so that everybody kind of has a full understanding as to what's at stake here. And really, I don't say this in a mean-spirited way, but the National Grid has had their attorneys, they've had their lobbyists.
They've had their way.
And they've had their way, and they've created a more of a, they've been driven by protecting the shareholders and not the ratepayers.
Right, exactly.
And we need to reverse that, but that's our
Exactly.
job. They've done their job because they have done what they need to do. A business needs to make money, and
Yeah, but the
yet-
PUC's job isn't that. It shouldn't be that.
it shouldn't be that, and what's happened is we're unfolding a number of instances where, in some cases, the PUC's hands have been tied by statute, and in other cases, the regs that they have or the policies that they have need to be updated to a level where the ratepayer gets the benefit of our leadership. So that's what we've been working on.
Well, as a property owner and a
Yeah,
landlord,
sure.
I had a dealing with the PUC. I had a
Mm-hmm.
hearing before them, and I was beside myself because they wanted me. I had sold a piece of property and ended up holding paper and ended up
Yeah.
having to take it back.
Yeah.
And unbeknownst to me, the five tenants that lived there, somehow got their electric and gas bills in my name, and I still to this day don't know how, because I
Yeah.
never paid tenants ever in 30 years
Yeah.
previous when I owned the place and lived in the same city on the same street. I never paid anybody's gas and electric bills. So when I went in there, I said, why would I move to East Greenwich, sell the property, move to East Greenwich, and then pay 5 tenants gas and electric bills for almost
Well, you're a
almost
good
year.
guy.
Yeah, I got to be
Did
a
they
great
say
guy.
that? You said you
so
must
they
be a
said,
good guy.
oh, now they say, oh, let's make a deal. We'll split the difference. I said, no, we're not splitting the difference. I said, I could win the lottery. I'm not paying these bills. Well, you know what they've done to me since? Because I refused to pay.
Yeah.
They killed my credit. Not killed it, but they hurt it a lot. They knocked me down 100
Yeah.
points. I was over 800. Now I'm 720 or 710 now. I should be 820. But because I refused to pay those bills, I will not pay them, and I won't. I said I'll hit the lottery. I won't pay them. They want to make me pay gas and electric bills for a year for 5 different families. It's almost 9,000. Oh, it's over 9,000.
In the same apartment?
No, 5 different apartments.
5 different apartments?
Yeah, like-
And they didn't pay their bill for a year?
Right, and I said, so why didn't
So
you
they-
come
so-
after me? Why didn't you send
And
me a certified
yeah,
letter?
And what'd they say?
Oh, we just sent letters out. Didn't you get them? I go, obviously I didn't get them. So they were grabbing the mail, apparently, right? And I said, all you had to do, one of 2 things, either shut the gas and electric off, right? Or send me a certified letter that I would definitely get and I would definitely respond to. No, they just kept sending bills, sending bills, sending bills. I mean, I had bills, this one owed $1,300 for gas, $800 for electric, that one owed $2,200 for gas and $1,500 electric. They didn't care, they weren't paying it. Nobody paid the bills, but they wanted me to pay it.
Well,
And it's still to this day. That's
Yes.
from 2000 and 2008, I think, 2007. Yeah.
well, maybe if we can get this proceeding going, so it gets competition in there, that you'll be able to take advantage of what's going on.
Oh,
and-
I
and-
definitely
and,
will.
and your credit rating's not going to matter.
I definitely no.
Yes.
I still my credit rating means a lot to me. I've never
Yes.
beat anybody in my whole life, and that really
Yes.
bothers me a
Yeah.
lot. You know?
Well, and then the other thing that is happening, which I think is good, is in the and I hope it holds up for the small business people in particular, is that in Governor Raimondo's budget, she's proposing eliminating the sales tax on the electric bill.
and they
That's
should.
not they should.
They should. It makes no sense. It makes no sense.
That's part of the something that's kind of not being spoken about that much. But somebody who's doing $2,000 a month, it doesn't matter, in the ice cream business or the health club or where they might be, if they're burning a lot of energy, it's not unusual for a small business to be burning $2,500 to $5,000 of electricity in a month.
Oh, no, I know. I owned a business in the 80s. My gas bill was $2,000 a month.
There you go. And so your electric bill on your restaurant's had to be up there too.
Oh, yeah,
So
absolutely, gas and electric.
that's a big deal. So we think that those two things on the energy front are going to help position us better as a state. There's a lot more to do, but you only can do one thing at a time, Bob.
Well, you got to start. You got to
crawl
crawl before you can walk.
But the way I look at it is, we can get the adjustment thrown out. We're actually asking retroactively, and New Hampshire did this, was retroactive to January 1. Anybody who got whacked by that adjustment, that there's a refund into those.
Like a guy like Burrowville, the guy in Burrowville.
About $1,800, yes.
Wow, that's
we're New Hampshire actually just did that. They understood that this was wrong, to be keeping people in the dark. Imagine, I mean, you think you're saving money
by switching.
Which the competition that was put in the deregulation 16 years ago should be encouraging you to do.
That's right.
You do it, and then you get hit that hard with a huge bill, and you know what that means to a small business, an $1,800 charge in 1 month to a small business out there.
Especially when you're not expecting it.
Yeah. So that's part of the business friendliness effort, and we got a couple more things that in terms of upgrading business friendliness. We had a nice thing last week that was pretty interesting that went on. I'm happy to talk about that. But yeah, the electric, get rid of the charge to the small businesses on the tax, taxing it. Get the adjustment in.
And get the competition
Get the website set up.
Right.
Educate the consumer of what they can do. And then over long periods of time, they're going to find windows that make a lot of sense for them to buy the electricity from another supplier that actually fires up the plant. And then when they deliver, after the plant gets fired up and they deliver the electricity, that's where the national grid makes their money.
Oh, so they'll still make money.
They still will make money. But the issue here is that this area where when they buy the energy that fires up the plants, they don't make any money on that, Bob. So they're not spending a whole lot of attention on purchasing at the very best rates.
Right.
Our testimony that we've already submitted says that the ratepayers, and this is kind of a freak of nature to a degree, where the prices dropped. I mean, we got the advantage of a big price drop this winter in our oil business and our oil customers. But if you went at market rate in January, if National Grid just bought all that stuff in that market rate,
it was high, right?
It would. Market rate was low.
It was low then in January.
But
their rate
was high.
That's what I meant. Yes.
The ratepayers would have saved $45 million.
Wow.
We're not talking about nickels and dimes here, right?
That's not jump change.
And you heard it over and over in the campaign when it was kind of said, well, what can that lieutenant governor do? Well, this alone will be worth millions of dollars of savings, and it all is driven by the fact that I have this piece by statute that allows me to weigh in on small business advocacy.
Right. And that's why I knew you'd be great for it. Just knowing, and again, as I said in the opening, not knowing you, but knowing of you and knowing what you did with the charter schools in Cumberland and in the Valley, in the whole Blackstone Valley, and how you put together all these mayors.
Yes, a lot of good friends.
Now you're trying to do it, and we're jumping off track a little bit here, but now I understand you're trying to do it with the lieutenant governors around the country.
You visited me a few times, yes. Now we're doing. I had the lieutenant governor from Connecticut, who was a Democrat, and the lieutenant governor from
Kentucky or something?
Vermont.
Vermont.
In my office a few weeks back, which we met in D.C. and.
Who's the guy you hooked up with? Is a real good connection. Didn't you go to the White House?
We went to the West Wing.
West Wing.
Now that was as I found out, the White House is here and the West Wing is over here, and there's a connected with a tunnel.
Right.
Now I suppose if I watched more of the West Wing on TV, I would know that.
Well, that's what I said. That's the White House.
I know.
It's part of the White House.
So I went through the gate and we met a former lieutenant governor of Kentucky, Jerry Aberson.
See, I listen.
Yeah, and he was also a former mayor of Louisville. About four lieutenant governors. Louisville. Yes.
Depending on who you talk to.
Yes, Louisville. I'm going to visit there because I'll tell you in a second why. But And we met with him, and he now is a part of the executive staff in the president's administration.
Right.
And he's right now supposed to be the conduit between federal, state, and local government. So we've already had discussions with him about how his office could help Rhode Island, and we expect that something's going to come back towards us that'll be pretty neat. And
that would be nice to have an ear in the White House, basically.
It would be really good.
Yeah.
And smartly, the governor, Raimondo, actually has hired somebody that worked in Director Abrahams' office at the West Wing, now working in the State House.
Who's that? Who's that?
His first name is Gabe. Good kid.
Yes?
Oh, yeah, smart kid. And so they're connecting us with, not only we have a pretty good, a very good relationship right now between our staff and the governor's staff, but now working in this whole thing about, municipalities is really kind of is central to our office right now.
That's the other thing that I find not really surprising, but different from past lieutenant governors. You've never had a friendship between any of the past lieutenant governors and governors that I can recall.
Yeah, I know. Not being there, but I mean, immediately, Governor Raimondo, on her request, we drafted an executive order. It was quickly after the snowstorm that put our office in the front seat for all this regionalization, consolidation, and shared service options that we're going to be looking into with the municipalities.
Right.
We lined, as you know, we lined our office, right? We've got the 39 shields from the basement of the State House that were for every community in the state, which we promised that we would make that a big place where the municipal leaders could hang their hats on behalf of their taxpayers. And now when you walk in there, you see every shield for every community. And as people walk into my office, I says, those are the very people that elected us to come here and work on their behalf. So we're right now really working very closely with the municipal leaders, as I have in the past, as you just said.
Right.
And the General Assembly, they have a joint commission, which Senator DePalma is on, as well as Rep. Phillips. And I reached out to them in the transition, as you were on the transition committee, and asked them to participate in my transition committee so that we could get a jump start on our relationship.
Which was great, because you come from the municipal side of government, and it's a change for you. It's a flip. I've been involved in state government in my lifetime and municipal government.
Yes.
And being around the state
makes a difference.
Makes a big difference.
Yeah, that's why when we put the shields there, it's because of my experience. And then when we have mayors and municipal leaders come into our office, which we've had a steady stream and meetings and over the 4 months, they appreciate it. They look at it. If they come in, if Mayor Fung comes in
shows
from Princeton,
recognition.
or Mayor Avedijan comes in from Warwick, or Tony Texera down in Bristol comes in, they see it. And in fact, there's a couple missing that we haven't made up, and the ones who so Johnston with Mayor Policina comes in, he says, "Where's my shield?"
Oh no! Of all people,
oh my God.
Of all people,
I say, Mayor, we're doing it up. But there's another area where we have one piece of legislation in right now through the Joint Committee to just do this one thing that will save cities and towns close to $15 million, over $1 million a year for the next 15 years. Simply going from a 3-year property revaluation cycle
I know what you're talking about. Something else.
to a 5-year like Connecticut has.
Right.
That will save the state and the local taxpayers close to $20 million over the next 15 years.
Really?
And that's something I talked about during the campaign.
Right.
So I made a list of the few things that I said. I want to be slow to promise, but quick to deliver.
So go from a 3-year reevaluation to a 4-year reevaluation.
To a 5-year,
to a 5-year
like Connecticut has.
3 to a 5.
We'll save cities and towns close to $15 million collectively over the 15 years, and it will save the state of Rhode Island close to $7 million.
So, because in the case of 15 years, folks, that would mean 3 evaluations in 15 years versus 5 evaluations.
That's correct.
In 15 years.
And
I can do math. That's pretty
you
good
do
math.
very good.
That's
And the savings that are there are not insignificant. Communities like Cumberland will save $30,000 to $40,000 a year, and a community like Providence we're going to save close to $250,000 a year. So these are real things that we talked about on the campaign that we're doing, and this whole regionalization, consolidation, and the governor signing that executive order was very, very important.
Exactly. Yes.
Right? So that relationship there is is one that I think is important. And what I've said all along is, look, I know that I'm not the governor, I'm the lieutenant governor. I've said that, it doesn't, as I agree that it doesn't have a whole lot of statutory authority, but it has a huge amount of influence.
And by the way, it doesn't mean it can't have a major effect in the progress of the state government.
Just look what we just talked about.
Exactly.
People do answer the phone, and if you have ideas like the National Grid, or you have ideas like the property revaluation, they listen, and they're able to talk to people in a way that you can really move issues. So the small business advocacy is a big one, and that whole idea of advancing Rhode Island, boosting business friendliness. We talked about on the campaign about Thumbtack. If you remember Thumbtack.
Yes,
Remember Thumbtack?
Yes.
About the company that has all these service businesses in the country.
Right.
And they survey the businesses.
And you talked about, I like how you react to things. You talked about a company that was out of San Francisco.
San Francisco, right? Called Thumbtack.
Right, yeah.
And so I called them during the campaign.
Right, and you asked them, let me get this.
Yes.
You said
yes.
Our rating was such, your bond rating when you were.
Yes, our bond rating was junk bond.
I forget what it was.
At one point,
junk
yes.
Bond.
Close to
and
junk bond.
And you wanted to know what you could do to get your junk bond rated
yes,
up
with the
higher.
Moody's. There
how
you go.
could change
yes.
it.
Yes.
What you could do to change it. So they told you, and you reacted accordingly.
And we just did our homework, and we got
Explain
A's.
it out. What's good? Explain it.
Well, what we did with our bond rating in our town, we had a 5-point bond rating in the town of Cumberland.
5-point raise in the bond rating.
Lowering one of the day before I got into office. But asking Moody's, who's the bond rating services, right, what do? We go. They gave me a list. I went and did it. We had 8 upgrades, Bob, during the 12 years that I was in office. 8.
Wow.
That's not a small amount.
No.
So
what does that do for your borrowing power?
It just alone in the last fiscal year, when we refinanced some of our notes and our bonds, saved us, the taxpayer $600,000.
Nice.
$600,000 over the
And
term
in a town
of those
of
notes.
Cumberland, that would have to be what? $5 a thousand taxpayer?
Yeah, well, that's over the length of over the bonds, the $600,000. So there's certainly savings there, but on the we're ranked by Thumbtack. It was as an F in business friendliness.
Wow.
And there was 3 Fs in the country, and we were the lowest. So they're coming out with a rating that's going to come out in June. That's going to do the same thing. That was pulled out, during just before the election last year. So we called them after I got into office.
And you say, how can we change from 49th? Rhode
right.
Island is 49th
Yes.
in business friendliness. That's disgusting.
So how do we move up?
Right.
And then
I knew you would do that.
Yes, so I called them up.
Yeah.
And I had actually one person that was at an event on Friday that we ran when, short story is that I asked them would they ever come out to the East Coast. They had said just been at the White House with the SBA, so that kind of legitimized their credibility. And I said, well, would you come out to talk to us? And they said, well, you're the first F that's called us. And so I asked them, and they said they did this for the Utah governor, who has an A, and we're at an F. So I said, well, you come out. So they did. So on Friday they came out. We hosted it at the Amica up in Lincoln, the insurance company. They were very generous. Had 40 people there. We had 20 businesses, small businesses, people who have 5 or less employees, right? And with the 3 of the executive team from the governor's office with her blessing. To sit in.
Right.
Stephen Pryor, who's the Commerce Secretary, right?
Yep.
Mackie McCleary is the business regulation. And then we had the very businesses that gave us Fs sit around the table and tell us why.
Oh, that's great. That's great. I mean, it's nice to get slapped in the head or slapped in the face. Say, hey, this is what you're doing wrong. This is what you're doing wrong. Fix it. Or at least have an opportunity to
So
fix
we
it.
built in a relationship with the Thumbtack, which I found out I actually was I was a customer of Thumbtack during the Christmas.
Really?
Listen to this business model. This is what gives you a lot of hope that people actually can service people all over the country from anywhere in the country.
Right.
So it can happen in Rhode Island.
Right.
So I simply wanted to get guitar lessons for my daughter Kara, who's living up in Boston, and I Googled out, at the day before Christmas and see what I could get. And Thumbtack survey came up. I filled it out, what I wanted, and they refer.
They direct you.
There's a referral. So they have a 1.3 million service companies, plumbers and electricians and guitar players, music lessons people who are life coaches or interior decorators, and small businesses. And then people can say, I want to buy that referral, and they pay them like $3 or $4. The service company pays for the referral.
Oh, wow.
And Thumbtack gets the money for the referral, and then they get my contact information, and they contact the end user like myself. And then we bought. I bought.
It's a pretty nice idea, actually, huh?
It's a really good idea.
Great idea.
They're approaching 200 employees right now.
Wow.
So we had them out, and Stephen Pryor, who's the Commerce Secretary, listened, took his notes, and actually asked them if they want to open up a East Coast
on the East
wing.
Coast satellite.
And at least we did our work there. But it was a great meeting, and we came out with a number of great points, including the cost to have the cost for every business in the state, regardless of size, that they pay a $500 annual fee to have the right to have a business in Rhode Island. And a number of the small businesses saying that's a big, pill to swallow,
right,
for a small business of one person or two people who are not really, or just starting, or just not really earning a whole lot of money. Or even if not earning, even if their book is, they book us, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 a business a year. That's a big chunk, right? After you pay a number of expenses. So the thought that came out of that meeting, and I'm hopeful that we're going to be able to promote that, is stagger it so that businesses, that it's all right to register and pay a fee, but if you're just starting out, maybe it should be a smaller fee. And as you increase the size of your business, it could increase more, closer to the $500, but keep it lower than that. And maybe if you're a large business that that is grossing a whole lot of money, maybe you pay a little bit more than the $500.
Well, it's kind of like the way the Chamber of Commerce is set up, isn't it?
Yeah, it's very similar. So they
I used to sell for the Chamber of Commerce back in 30 years ago.
Oh, we're doing some. We had a person in our office that is going to create a $10 million private equity fund. $10 million, and he's going to leverage that out to a $30 million equity fund, nonprofit. He's going to. I'm meeting again for the third.
Going to start in Rhode Island.
Start in Rhode Island, and it's going to be for capitalizing current businesses that, when they evaluate it, and they came from a similar situation in Connecticut, which they've done. Once they get this up and running, they'll evaluate the current businesses that are currently established in terms of their growth potential, and then they'll fund that growth.
Wow.
That's big.
That would be great. That would be
big.
great.
And so we're going to be working with them on the ideas that we've talked about during the campaign, and trying to identify and help be a conduit to put that equity and match that up with the businesses out there that do want to grow. We had one kid that was there from young man, Greg, who owns a business, and he just recently graduated from Rhode Island School of Design, and he's from Ohio.
Oh, good. He's staying in Rhode Island.
He's staying in Rhode Island. And we met with him, and we invited him to the meeting, the Thumbtack meeting, and he was there. And so there's a perfect example of a young man that is creating this planning office with web design, furniture design, and just planning in general, that if they had their hands on a little bit of equity, they would expand and they would create more jobs. So that's what we're going to try to do and why not do the same thing we did on our bond rating, right?
Yes, exactly. Find out the way to make it better. Well, look, we're just finding out. It was on the news today, I think, where Rhode Island, their roads and their bridges in terrible shape. We ranked 49th again.
Yeah,
terrible,
we're tired.
It's awful. 49th, 50th.
I'm so tired of hearing all
bottom
these
of the
things
barrel
that make people want to move away from Rhode Island, rather than, and we want to build a state where people want to move to or stay in. And I'm cautiously optimistic that we can make that happen. And I'm optimistic because of some of the leadership that is there. I think timing's right. The public really wants it.
Right.
And I'm cautious only because there's a small group of people that we didn't campaign to, that 1 in 5 that everything's working for.
They want to stick the status quo. They want to keep it the way it is. Because they get their nest egg, they get their pension, they got everything going for them. but they're not helping everybody else. And they don't realize, they don't look at the big picture.
Yeah.
That if they stay the way it is, it could change for them too. It could
Yes.
happen what happened in Central Falls with their pensions.
Well, it
They
could,
lost
and
percentage of their pension.
I would also say that it's not, people go directly to the pension issues and to the labor agreements, but the National Grid needs to change that behavior, and they have nothing to do
God.
with that. You know what I'm saying?
I told you I have a personal
yes, I
vendetta
know
with
that.
the National
But what
Grid.
so the
Or dislike, I
the
should
20% or 25% of the people who are happy with the direction that we're in, they're a combination of a number of different people.
Right.
But this 80%, the 4 and 5, they want to see it change. They want to build a place that they can be proud of and they want to live in. And I think it can happen if we are able to keep on pushing competition like we are. We
Right.
did in our schools. We did it, and it get with great outcomes.
And now if you can put that model in a statewide grouping, your charter school
Yeah.
model, statewide, why can't you, first of all?
Yeah, that's happening because in the Mayoral Academy, we're servicing students and families from Pawtucket, Central Falls, Cumberland, and Lincoln.
Right.
In Woonsocket will be opening up a Mayoral Academy under the leadership of Paulette Hamilton, who's in North Smithfield, the administrator there, along with Lisa Baldelli Hunt, who is the mayor of Woonsocket.
Right.
They're going to be opening this year, and then we just opened up under the former Angel Tavares in Providence. Now Jorge Alorza, the mayor, are on a board in Providence, in a region in Providence. That is opening up with drawing students from Cranston, Warwick, North Providence.
Oh, that's great,
Providence.
yeah.
And they're in their 3rd year right now, Bob. So you are planting the seed of what competition can drive.
And what
excellence
success
in the
does.
district.
Success
Yes,
breeds
absolutely.
success.
Yeah, then District Charter Compacts, we're showing a whole bunch of success there with Central Falls, and we're about to expand the Mayoral Academy footprint one more time, and we're going to bring in some really great resources into the school district in Pawtucket if that Mayoral Academy gets off the ground, which is going to draw from the experience out in Summit School out in California, which is kind of a hybrid school, which is a combination between the technology and the teachers, but they have a whole model that's been extremely successful.
Oh, and I said it on the last show, I don't know if you saw it, about our number one industry in this state, number one or number two is what? Tourism.
Tourism.
Right? And you don't see I see advertisement for Connecticut on TV. I see advertisement for Massachusetts. Granted,
Yes.
we shouldn't see advertisement
Yeah.
for Rhode Island and Rhode Island, but you think you'd see it anyway, because if you're advertising in Mass, you'd see it on the stations. You'd see it a little bit, or you'd hear about it. We used to have a great advertisement. We used to have the Ocean State, come to the Ocean State,
Yes.
The biggest little state in the union, all kinds of
Yeah.
stuff like this. And I actually said on this show, last show, that I think that I do more for the state of Rhode Island, or have done more for the state of Rhode Island in my 23 years on TV. May 29th is my
Nice.
23rd year.
Congratulations.
May 29th.
Yes.
What date's today? May 19th. 10
Yeah.
days from now
Yeah.
is my anniversary, my 23rd anniversary on television, doing for nothing, by the way. I've been doing this for 23 years, not only for nothing, at my own cost, to promote, and I started this to promote the state of Rhode Island, because I didn't think way back then, and I still don't think the state does enough to promote the state, or does it properly. When have you gone, you travel a little bit, have you ever been, when you said you're from Rhode Island, what is the response you get? Well, I shouldn't say that, it's an open question.
Yes.
One of the responses I get often, and it
Yes.
irritates me,
Yes.
is, oh, where you from? New York?
That's right. They think
Right?
it's Long Island.
They think it's Long Island.
Yes.
That shouldn't happen.
No.
We have the distinction of being the smallest state in the union. We should be playing that up, not down, not avoiding it, not talking about it. And I even said, I had an opportunity, in fact, I mentioned it to you about that. I did. What am I doing? I talked to you
Yes.
about this already.
Yes.
The Winnebago. I
Yeah,
have an
yeah,
opportunity-
yeah.
My buddy owns.
Yes.
He bought it brand new. I have
Yes.
a chance I could buy it at a very reasonable price. Wrap that with Rhode Island all over it. Give me all the paraphernalia about everything that's going on in Rhode Island,
Yep.
every little nook and cranny, every tourist event or place to go. This little. Do you know per capita we have more historical historical places in Rhode Island than any other state in the United States. We have more, percentage-wise.
Yes.
Give me everyone from everywhere, Blackstone Valley, South County, Westerly. I'll go around the state, me and Corey and maybe John, go around the state and promote the state of Rhode Island, make a deal with every one of them. I'll promote your state too.
Yeah.
And go to, like you do, and go to every state in the United States, or every state, or many of the states in the United, obviously not Hawaii and Alaska, but 48 states.
Hawaii would be nice.
Hawaii would be nice.
I've never been there. Have you ever been there?
No, I have not, but I don't know if I'd want to take a 40-foot Winnebago over there. But I mean, I'd go to the 47 states and promote the state of Rhode Island, as I proudly do, for nothing, for short money.
Yep.
And I could do it, and I know I told you this, Massachusetts spends $15 million a year on tourism.
Yeah.
The state of Rhode Island budgets $400,000.
Yes. Hopefully that's going to change. I think that.
Give me $150,000.
Yes.
I'll buy the Winnebago, tour the country, pay these guys their wage. I don't even want to get paid. I'll tour these guys a wage, and I'll come back and we'll sell the Winnebago, or the state will keep it, and
put it in a museum. That museum could be part of the attraction.
There you go.
There you go.
There you go.
So that would be fun.
Bob's Big Adventure tours the country. Tours the country for short money. For less than $200,000, I could do the whole thing, the whole package.
Could we still do the 39 cups of coffee?
We do the 39 states, buddy. We do the 39 states. We do 40, like I said, we do 47 states. I think it'll be a great idea.
I think it is a good idea. We need to make sure that we put our best foot forward. We need to get a couple successes, and then
we need to think out of the box. Is what you've done.
Yeah.
You in Cumberland and in the Valley with your mayoral academy and with the charter school thing have done stuff that other guys either didn't think of, never considered, or were afraid to do, and that's why I liked you. That's why I went to help you,
because you're a big help. And my wife Susan and I, you got us that nice. We had that little lobster down there in Cranston too.
Little lobster?
It wasn't little. I couldn't finish it. Yeah, Twin Oaks. Yes, I couldn't finish that.
That's amazing. That's amazing. It's an amazing place. Do you know that is one of the highest ranking restaurants in the United States for a single freestanding restaurant?
Is that right?
At one time, ranked 22nd in the country for one single stand, and you can't even find the place. It's not even easy to find. It's on Sabin Street, 10 Sabin Street in Cranston, Rhode Island, folks.
Oh yeah.
But if you don't know where it is, it's not on a main thoroughfare.
No.
I mean, if you open a restaurant, would you ever open a restaurant there?
Other than the fact it's overlooking a nice little lake.
I mean that comes into play because it does Spectacle Lake. It's beautiful for that. But my point is, you have no visibility.
No.
There's no signs on Reservoir Avenue saying, "Hey, come down this street." They don't need it.
Right.
Right now, I think they're ranked 79th in the United States as a restaurant. 79th of one restaurant. They've just done an amazing business that's gone back, I don't know, 60 years, the Angelus family. 50 or 60 years. Bill DeAngelis' father, and
that's a good
now Susie and Bill.
And that's a good point that I've been making out there. I get in these emails from people who say, "I'm leaving this state."
Right. That's
right.
That's troubling. That's troubling.
But then they'll share their story. I raised 4 kids in Rhode Island. I worked at a university in Rhode Island. I opened up 2 businesses in Rhode Island. I successfully put our kids through college.
Right.
So they don't tell the story of how great Rhode Island was for their family and has been for our family.
Right.
And that's what they should be saying, is it's time for me to leave because of circumstances beyond my control. My 4 kids are somewhere else in the country, and I want to be close to them.
No. Most of it's, you know what part of it's because? It's because of the inheritance tax. Part of it is.
No, that's not what it
is.
That's
what they tell me. Yeah, that's what I hear all the time.
Well, you got to have millions of dollars of net
exactly.
worth.
Thank you. That's what I hear, though.
There's not as many people who have millions of
and
dollars.
And who has it? I always say this. Who has better all-around weather than Southern New England? We don't have tornadoes every other day for months at a time. We have a hurricane, a bad hurricane, every 15 or 20 years, a bad one?
Yes.
Right?
And
when's the last bad one we've had?
And people are able to, like Twin Oaks, has been able to have a family tradition, who's been able to earn a good income and raise a family, just like the examples I talked about. My point is, don't be leaving angry. If you've
Right.
had, if,
Come
if,
up with
if,
the
if-
real
if Rhode-
excuse
if
you're
Rhode
leaving.
Island,
Yeah.
and be honest about it. But
Right.
why not say this was a great place to raise my family? This
That's
was a
right.
great place to
I put
run a
4
business.
kids through
I had-
college,
we
I
had,
did this, I
we
did
have
that.
academic institutions that I was able to work at that provided our family a good living, and I'm leaving happy. And so that you're encouraging other people to have the same experience.
To
Bob.
stay, exactly.
And so we're
Negativity is the problem. And that's part of my whole thing. That
Yeah.
was part of my thing about doing this show, because back in the day, 23 years ago, there was nobody.
I thought it was chocolate covered strawberries.
that too.
Okay.
But there was nobody promoting the talent. This state has a ton of talent. They have a lot of talent. You know who lives in this city? This is Pawtucket. We're in Pawtucket, Rhode Island, folks. You know who lives in this city? Do you remember ABC morning show? Mm-hmm. Remember
Sure.
the first
Sure.
guy host of that show? He lives in Pawtucket, Rhode Island. From Pawtucket, Rhode Island.
That's my point. There's-
Bill Foley. Do you know who Bill Foley is?
Yes, I remember it was from Center Falls, maybe?
No, he's from Pawtucket. From Pawtucket. He
Fruit of
donated
Loom?
$1 million to
Was he Fruit of
Fruit of the
Loom?
Loom. Exactly right. Acme Boot, Lady Pepperell, linen woman. Understand that. Lady Pepperell,
Yes.
linen sheets and pillowcases and all quilts and all that stuff. Lady Pepperell, Acme Boot, largest boot company in the world. They make dingo boots and work boots, and they make cowboy boots and all that stuff. I went out and seen Bill Foley. I worked for him as a photographer when he came into town and was the Grand Marshal of the Pawtucket
Okay.
St. Patrick's Day
Patrick's
Parade.
Day, okay, yeah.
And he told me all this stuff, all the things, a lot of the stuff he was doing. But he came from Pawtucket. He came from
And we need to keep the young Bill Foleys here in Rhode Island. And so when I spoke at the Rhode Island College commencement the other day, I got up there and I said, I pointed to we need you to stay.
Right, right.
And right now, no one, this is another thing that I think that we haven't done as well as we can. We haven't asked them to stay, and we haven't given them a reason to stay.
Right.
And so we're going to, one of the things that I'm going to do, I had a youth commission in our town when I was mayor for 12 years that was made up of high school students, and it was great for them. It was a leadership strategy. They used it to get scholarships to college, and they contributed back in the community. This time around in the Lieutenant Governor's office, I'm going to have a young adult commission that will be made up of college students and recently graduated college students.
Exactly, good.
Find a way to, we had 4 interns in our office today to start the process, and find ways to communicate. We have a captive audience in the state of Rhode Island from anywhere from 4 to 8 years, depending on the degree that
and a lot of
people are
schools
going
to
at.
draw from. A lot of undergraduates and graduates.
They're coming from all over the world and out of state, just like Greg from Ohio.
Yep.
We should be sitting with all the Gregs from Ohio's and say to them, we want you to stay.
Yeah, exactly.
Bob, we want you to stay, and this is how we're going to do it.
I'll take them as
And
interns here. We'll take them here.
We'll match them up with their entrepreneurship with some private equity if that's successful. We need to ask them the question, please stay.
Yes.
You're right, we need to ask them that. And then when we do, we got to give them a reason to stay. And then you're going to have all these people that you just talked about. They're living right in the state of Rhode Island. They're just 10 years away from actually creating this incredible entrepreneurship as they grow and they mature, right? As they're going through college. They're just 10 years or so away from doing that. So we need to ask them to stay.
And do
that's part of the plan.
speaking on the positive, and that's the problem with a lot of Rhode Islanders, and I've said this to so many of them, they're the glass empty people. There's so many Rhode Islanders that are the glass empty. Unfortunately, I don't know if they're brought up that way or whatever. I've always been of the thought process, we got to look at it's not partly cloudy, it's partly sunny today. It's, you got to think of things in a positive way.
And what I've been saying if it's raining, don't tell me the sun's shining. And it has rained in Rhode Island in a lot of different ways. But and I was talking to 60 high school students at the State House that we recognized for their leadership yesterday, and I said to the parents the same thing. If it's raining, don't tell me the sun's shining. We don't need a cheerleader.
Right.
But when we see the rays of sunlight that come through the clouds, we should be celebrating those. And just like those 60 kids that graduated from our high schools throughout the state of Rhode Island right now, that are heading to great institutions learning higher education, and a number of them staying in Brown at URI, Providence College.
And Rick, Rick, by the way, was rated one of the best bargains in the country. in the whole country.
When those rays of light come through the clouds, we need to say that we need to recognize that.
We need to rejoice over them.
That's right. But we don't need a cheerleader telling us that, if it's raining, that it's the sunshine.
You need a realist, but you still need positive people. You got to have positive people.
You have to have
That's
it.
the problem, is that the negativity is just so bad with some people. It's, oh yeah, it's Rhode Island. That's the way
Right.
it is. No,
Well,
it's not the way it has to be.
No, but we also have to behave ourselves in a way, our behavior needs to, change a little bit so that that we can shift that, because there's a number of people out there, quite frankly, that love Rhode Island, right? In that meeting was an interesting little segment in the meeting. Luke from Thumbtack, who did a great
Right.
job. He was from California, came in and gave a presentation on what their survey looked like, and he started to talk about Rhode Island in a very negative way, because that's what he was hearing.
Right.
And even some of the people initially around the table, the very people who were giving us that, they started defending Rhode Island.
Oh, good. Nice to hear. Nice to hear.
So the very people out there, right, that are.
Well, that's like if you got a brother and you're not getting along with him right now, but somebody picks on him or says something to him.
And Luke, who was this relatively mid-30 character that was really, really skilled helping develop this business, which I just described to you, he made note of that. He says, you wouldn't even, this is good because you're at least defending even these Fs that we're getting.
He probably did that on purpose, too.
I don't know, but it was a good reaction, because I think we just got to change our behavior to a certain degree, just like we campaigned to the 4 and 5 people that want to see the state change, Bob, when we were out there doing it. We need to listen to them, and that's why I put the shields up in my office, and that we need to listen to them, and we need to make sure that that we do well by the people in the state, and then so that they become our ambassadors. We have a lot of Bob Venturinis out there.
Hopefully we do.
That are advocating for the state of Rhode Island.
Exactly. We got about a minute left.
Yeah.
Now, do other people allowed to go to that meeting, that hearing on June?
On June 4th,
4th?
yes. And we're in particular, we're working with a number of the small businesses, because it's going to really impact, but the ratepayers too.
Ratepayers, you want to go there.
You want to go June 4th.
What time is it?
It's at 10 in the morning.
10 in the morning, and that is on Jefferson Boulevard. I don't know the numbers. It's
Jefferson
61?
Boulevard, I'm not sure where the address is.
I know it's a low number. I know
but
Jefferson Boulevard. It's on the right if you're coming off the
that
highway.
would be a tremendous help. We had a Senate hearing today on our budget, and 3 of the senators, because we have been talking to the senators, was asking how we were making out on that. It's something that's resonating, and the public really, it's in their best interest to push this competition on the electric.
All right, folks, we're out of time, I guess.
We're out of time. Can you believe that?
You did a whole hour with Bob there, buddy.
I'm privileged.
The Lieutenant Governor.
I'm
of the
privileged.
state of Rhode
I did a
Island,
lot more
Dan
than
McKee.
I did a lot more with Bob on the
campaign trail. We did October and all the way to November. We did.
Right.
We had a lot of fun.
That
was a lot.
We had a lot of fun.
That was a good. It's the first campaign I'd been in a long time.
And we don't. And that's one thing. Don't forget where you come from.
There you go.
Don't forget.
Cumberland guy, Pawtucket Cumberland guy, born in Cumberland. Me.
Yes.
From Pawtucket.
Yeah.
Folks, thank you for spending an hour with Bob, and don't forget June 4th, 10 a.m. Jefferson Boulevard. I don't know the number. I apologize. Oh, by the way, C-130 is the name of that plane. I forgot. I couldn't remember. All of a sudden, I remembered it while we were talking, but I didn't want to say it. I didn't want to interrupt you. C-130 airplane. It's called the Hercules. The big. They drive trucks in and all jeeps in and all that stuff. Anyway, that's the 30th and the 31st Quonset Air Show. My favorite, the first show I ever did, by the way, May 29th, 1992, with my son Zachary. No, actually, it was before Zachary. Zachary, I did his first show, was also at the air show, but that was in 95. Anyway, 1992, May 29th was the first time Bob Venturini went on the air as the host of a show, Bob's Big Adventure.
Well, we're going to visit a couple of the diners that we visited when we go.
We
see
should.
that show.
By the way, I went to the Patriot Diner the other day.
You did?
Yeah, I did, and they were asking for you. They said, "Oh, we remember you." They remember you.
We'll be back up there. We've already stopped into a couple.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And bye to
Mel's
David
Diner
Letterman.
down there, right down in Newport.